My name is Mafalda. I am from ERA Innovation Ecosystems. I'm part of the PhotonQBoost project management team. I'm here joined today by my colleagues Kai Carvalho and Carolina Mio. Today we will present you PhotonQBoost project and then deep dive into this into the current open call that we have ongoing. So Kai, would you please change slides?
Yes.
So a brief overview on PhotonQBoost. PhotonQBoost is an Horizon Europe project which started in November 2024, and it's a 4-year project, so it will be ongoing until 30 November 2028. The project has approximately 5 million euros to achieve its goal, which is to empower European SMEs to achieve sustainability, resilience, and global competitiveness through the uptake of quantum and photonics technologies. Next slide, please. The project brings together a strong consortium composed by seven leading photonic and quantum clusters, as well as specialized consultancies and research and technology organizations across 9 EU member states. Together, we are working to build a strong European innovation ecosystem in photonics and quantum technologies, contributing to Europe's global leadership and strategic autonomy in these fields. Next slide, please. Regarding the project's vision, PhotonQBoost envisions building a sustainable and interconnected European innovation ecosystem where photonics and quantum technologies are fully integrated into industrial value chains, driving green transition, technological sovereignty, and economic growth. To achieve this vision, the project provides a thorough pipeline of advisory services, including innovation and technology support and sustainability transition. And to complement, we also have funded open calls, making available more than 3.6 million euros distributed among 4 open calls to directly support these SMEs. The project also encourages cross-border collaboration through matchmaking events and matching missions. These activities will improve market access for SMEs and help close gaps in knowledge and infrastructure and networking across regions. Next slide, please, Kate. Regarding the advisory services, these are provided by project partners to SMEs on a free of charge basis, requiring only that they register in the project service pipeline. So you can scan the QR code to register for these free advisory services. We have advisory services regarding innovation support, technology support, and sustainability transition. Under innovation support, we have, for instance, investment readiness and access to VC or business model innovation. On technology support, we have proof of concept consultation, skill development, and technology training. And regarding the sustainability support, we have sustainability consulting and life cycle assessment. To know more about these services, you can also visit our website, and we have a brief description of what type of support you can expect. Next slide, Kate. Thank you. Regarding the open calls, so as mentioned, we have the project offer is supported by the open calls with the more than 3 million euros available for this support. The PhotonQBoost open calls enable SMEs to access matching mission, which are innovation events that support cross-border collaboration by providing matchmaking opportunities and travel grants. Also, solutions and pilots, financial and technical support for the development of innovative quantum and photonic solutions, and also training and services, which enable the acquisition of external services that support resilience and sustainability of these SMEs. And now to deep dive on the current open call that we have ongoing, I will give the word to my colleague Kai from Sploro. Kai, please.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Good morning. So as I was introduced, my name is Kai Carvalho, and I am a EU project manager at Sploro. So today I'm going to introduce you our current open call, which is the open call for solutions, missions, trainings, and services. In this open call, as you know, we have three different kinds of grants: the solution grants, the mission grants, and the trainings and services grants. The open call was open on November 17th of last year and is going to run until January 19th. The total budget of the call is 728,800 euros, and the maximum financial support for each SME is 50,000 euros. Our target is in this open call are small and medium-sized enterprises which are operating in the photonics or quantum sectors, or that are integrating these technologies into their business activities. This is quite important as companies do not need to operate just specifically with photonics and quantum. So a company from any sector can apply to these calls if they are interested in integrating those technologies in their activities. So all the information about the open call are in the guidelines for applicants, which is a document available in our website, in PhotonQBoost website. Just need to click on the second open call and access this document. Okay, and it contains pretty much everything that is related to the call. So deadlines, all the information that's going to be discussed today, all eligibility criteria and the selection process. So all information is in this guidelines for applicants document. And you also can access the application form. So all the applications need to come via this form. And in the guidelines for applicant, if you go to the end of the document, you're going to see a template of the application form, and you can prepare your application before pretty much submitting it in the proper form. So the first grant is the solutions grant. So SMEs can apply for up to 40,000 euros to advance their solutions from TRL 4 to 8. Oh, just a second, I had a here. Yeah. So for this grant, our team conducted a series of workshops with companies from photonics and quantum, and we selected 21 challenges divided among those 5 major sectors, let's say. So advanced manufacturing, agri-food, life science and health, mobility, and digital technologies. The idea of the goal of this grant is to help SMEs to develop photonics or quantum challenge-oriented solutions with the support of our partners from PhotonQBoost. So we are selecting 15 SMEs to receive this grant. Up to 2 SMEs can require funding, can join forces to require funding and receive in a joint application, right, in a joint solution. So each SME would need to apply for its own, fill their own form and apply individually, but they can, of course, join forces to develop just one solution and receive up to 40,000 euros each. So that's regarding SMEs, but of course, SMEs can join with any other kind of organizations, right? So big corporations, universities, etc. Those organizations cannot request funding, but they can support the application of the SMEs by providing a letter of commitment in the application form. As I've mentioned, the development of the solutions the SMEs will receive support of our project partners. The payment will be in lump sum, so there is no counterpart needed from the SMEs, right? And we, ideally, the solutions projects, let's say, or the proposals of the solutions would last for 6 months. Yeah, the timeline of the development of the solutions, we aim to have 6 months, but of course, if there's more time needed, if companies need more or less time, they can specify that in their application and of course describe why they need a different timeline. We are planning to provide payments and all payments would be associated to KPIs, which will be defined jointly between the SMEs, the beneficiaries of the call, and our partners from PhotonQBoost. And we plan to made the payments on the first, the third, and the 6th month of the development of the solution. Now for our second grant is the Matching Missions grant. So SMEs are invited to apply to participate in those two missions that we are planning for 2026 and receive up to 1,440 euros to cover participation costs. The first mission is going to be in Czech Republic, in Prague. So that's going to happen in the end of March, and companies will receive 610 euros to join that mission. The focus of this mission will be manufacturing and industrial optics. And the second mission will happen in Stuttgart in October, and companies will receive 830 euros to join the mission to participate in those activities, and the focus will be mobility. So during those events, those two missions, there will be a series of activities to foster networking between the participants. We're planning to have 20 SMEs for each mission. Each SME can have one or two persons joining the missions. And we, of course, have other players, other innovation players in those missions that are not SMEs. So we have universities, corporations, and many other actors from the host innovation ecosystems that will join the activities of the missions. So SMEs can expect strategic exposure. Okay, so we're going to have sessions to help the SMEs to make new contacts. Of course, we're going to have visits to labs and corporations in the host innovation ecosystems. SMEs will receive expert guidance from our partners of PhotonQBoost, and of course discuss further funding opportunities to access financial support. Our third and last grant is the Trainings and Services grant. So for this grant, we are offering up to 10,000 euros to SMEs to acquire training or services in a broader sense that enhance their resilience and or sustainability. So SME, it's quite broad what SMEs can acquire with this fund. Most important thing is that those services are not covered, as Mafalda mentioned. We offer a service portfolio free of charge in our project. So those services and those trainings, they cannot be already provided by PhotonQBoost. That's the first limitation of this grant. And of course, as the name says, is a trainings and services grant. So we are not covering, for instance, personal costs or equipment, right? So this grant is focused on the trainings and services, to help SMEs foster their resilience and or sustainability. We have 15 slots for this grant, and a few examples of eligible activities are software development, standards and certifications, sustainability audit, and specialized consultancy or coaching. So as I mentioned, it's quite broad what companies can offer. And of course, we have further information in our guidelines for applicants. Now, let's address a little bit about the eligibility criteria. So for any of those grants, the SMEs, they need to comply with all the eligibility criteria without any exceptions, okay? And I'll present each one of them. And of course, if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat, in the questions. Submit your question, and then we'll address that in a second, okay? The first one is the SME, so exists as a legal entity, so the company needs to be a small and medium-sized enterprise, and of course exist. As I mentioned, the company needs to meet the European definition of a small and medium-sized enterprise. And of course, we have the definition in the guidelines for applicants. The company needs to be 6 months or older by January 19th, by the deadline of the call. It must be registered in a European member state, or a Horizon Europe associated countries. We, of course, have the list of the associated countries and the guidelines as well. So applicants need to fill the whole application form. So the whole form must be completed in English, okay, as well as all the additional documentation that is required must be in English. Of course, the SME members and representatives, they cannot have any conflict of interest with our PhotonQBoost partners. And then we have a few specific eligibility criteria. For the solutions grant, the solution must be, the technology readiness level of the solution must be from 4 to 8. For the missions grant, the SME cannot be legally registered in the host country of the mission. Okay, so for the Polish mission, so for instance, in the German mission, the company cannot be from Germany. Of course, they can participate. The companies from Germany can participate in the mission, but they cannot apply for funding. Okay, that's quite important as well. Any company that's interested will be able to contact us and, of course, join the mission, but only SMEs can request funding. So the next one is that the proposal submitted cannot be partially or fully funded by another open call, so it must be unique, right? That's to avoid double funding. And the proposals, the sum of all proposals, so for solutions, missions, and trainings and services, cannot exceed the funding request upper limit of 50,000 euros per SME. Important to mention that PhotonQBoost will have other open calls so we have a few more years of project, and we're going to have, of course, other open calls. And the upper limit of the funding requested by SMEs for the whole duration of the project is 50,000 euros. As for the evaluation, so each grant will be assessed taking in consideration 3 criteria. Okay, so impact, excellence, and implementation. For each grant, those criteria vary in weight, right? So for instance, in this one, we have 25%, 35%, and 40% for each one of the criteria, but they vary from each one of the grants. The evaluation will take place, each application will be assessed by 2 specialists, so people that have experience in photonics and quantum, and they will define a score from 0 to 5, 0 being not addressed, 5 being exceptionally addressed for each one of the criteria. And the sum of those scores will be the final, of course, we have a normalization procedure to balance, let's say, the scores that is described as well in the guidelines for applicants. But yeah, pretty much the sum of the scores will be the final score of each SME. As for the timeline, so as I mentioned, we've opened the open call in November. We're closing January 19th. Right after that, we have an evaluation period that's going to take from the 20th of January to the 16th of February. After that, we have a legal validation phase where we pretty much check if all the documentation is valid, if the SME, if all the legal documentation of the SMEs, and we will inform all the applicants about the results, right? Right after that, we have the sub-grant agreement preparation. So that's when we prepare the contracts between our coordinator, our project coordinator, which is EURA, and the SMEs, the beneficiaries that were approved in the open call. In the open call. So that's pretty much everything from my side. If you have any questions now, please leave them in the chat, and I'll check them in a moment. But if you have any additional questions, we have the help desk, the PhotonQBoost help desk, and you can send emails via email any question to this email, and we pretty much reply then in up to 2 working days. Besides that, it's important to mention once again, just check the guidelines for applicant. Please read it. Please check the frequently asked questions in our website as well, as you may have a question that was already answered. And yeah, we are waiting for our applications, and yeah, taking consideration that the deadline is closed. So we have a few more days, 11 days, to the conclusion of the deadline, and we expect your application. Thank you very much. I will now check if we have any questions, but so I'll just stop sharing my screen, get back to the event, and I will address the questions now, okay? Just a second. So there are any missions linked with life science planned in 2026? No, those are the only missions that we're gonna organize in 2026. Question for Ignace. Could you please confirm or correct my understanding? Is the objective of the solution to advance the technology from TRL 4 to TRL 8? No, sorry if that wasn't clear. The objection is to advance the TRL. Okay, so for 4 to 5, 5 to 6, or 4 to 6, any advancement is accepted. In the application, so a question from Laura. In the application, do we need to indicate the starting TRL or the final aimed TRL? So the starting TRL, okay? And then describe in the text what you want to advance and how will that advance. Are non-profit organizations eligible? No, only small and medium-sized enterprises. A question for Stefano. Now a question from Carlos, and I hope I am pronounced it appropriately. I would like to ask about the KPIs for the proposal. Should they be clearly defined in the application form? I could not find any specific section or guidance in the form indication where the KPIs should be described. So, Carlos, the KPIs, the formal KPIs will be defined after the approval of your application, if you approve it, and that would be bilaterally discussed between the SMEs and the product partners. Okay. Of course, if I would suggest you to include some reference to it in your application, just mentioning what do you want to reach, how do you want to reach, but the formal KPIs will be defined after your application is approved with our project partners. Can we apply to leverage the TRL of another EU fund? A question for Ibrahim. Can we apply to leverage the TRL of another EU-funded project outcome? Yes, there's no problem at all with that. Would technology, of course, when I mentioned that the proposal needs to be unique, is that specific advancement of the TRL must be unique, right? You cannot have already received funding to conduct the same activity, okay? But of course, in this case, you receive it funded to, let's say, to achieve TRL 4. So there's no problem at all in applying with this solution to advance from 4 to 5 or 4 to 6, etc. Questions from Will. Would technology characterization from an independent body qualify as a service for the trainings and service grant? Technology, yes, I think so. I think so. Will, of course, it's up to you to argument, right? As I've mentioned, there are a few limitations to the trainings and service grant, but I understand that technology characterization is clearly a service. So if that supports your company in enhancing its resilience and its sustainability, and if you can link, the service with this advance, let's say, with this improvement in your resilience and sustainability, yes, I don't see no problem. Okay, question from Vanessa. For the training and services line, 2 offers are required. The question is, must this offer be in English as well, or they can be in another language from the EU? I suggest to be in English, right? Or of course, you can include so all documentation must be in English, right? Of course, if you include a quotation, let's say in another language, and then a translation or some description of what is in the quotation, I think that would be appreciated. Question from Ignas. Could the trainings and services involve experts from outside the PhotonQBoost consortium partners? Yes, of course. From Stefano. The quantum services provided by your consortium, or can we identify a quantum company to assist SME? Yes, Stefano, you can. Yeah, I think we have two questions here that are similar. So the idea is that you can have any partner, okay, joining your application. As I've mentioned, you need a letter of commitment. If you're joining forces with another SME, they need to apply as well. But yeah, they don't need to be from our consortium, okay? It's important to mention that our consortium is apart from the open call, our consortium partners are providing services on a free of charge basis, okay? So those things are not directly related, okay? After your application is approval, you're going to have support from our partners, okay? And that's mandatory pretty much because we need to have a partner that will follow your advancement and will provide you support. But yes, if you want to have any other company joining, supporting your, let's say, solution development, that's totally fine. What if the expected KPIs are not reached after the POC completion? So the KPIs, the KPIs and milestones that are going to be jointly defined with our project partners, they are associated with the payments of, let's say, the solution grant. Okay. Also, the mission grant, for instance, has KPIs as well. Not KPIs, has milestones as well. So our payments, it's important to be very clear that while the KPIs will be jointly defined, right, between the partners and the SME, they will be associated to the payments of the grants. Okay, so if the expected KPIs are not reached, the expected payment won't be made. Okay, and that's described in the guidelines of the applicants. If the KPIs are not reached, there are a few scenarios, let's say, and that's pretty much of payments, right, of percentages of payments, and that's also described in the guidelines for applicants. So the impact section highlights on energy reduction and greenhouse, but these are not relevant for life science. Shall we simply comment not applicable? Yes, of course, if those specific, let's say, contributions are not reached, you can just comment not applicable. Describe your work plan so a question from Paprota. Describe your work plan for achieving the project outcomes, including key activities, resources, team members, and timeline. Is it the only place to describe KPIs and work packages? Yes, that's precisely the place where we want you to describe KPIs and work packages if you want to organize your project as that. Question from Paulo. If I have correctly understood, the SME can apply to all of those solutions plus mission plus training if the amount is less than 50K. Yes, Paulo, that's correct. And we highly encourage you guys to apply to more than one of the grants. Okay. Another question from Poprota. How many work packages should we have in the work plan? So, Poprota, you don't need to necessarily organize your application. Okay, the solution development, for instance, you don't need to organize them necessarily in work packages. Okay, and there's no guidelines on how many do you on how do you must organize your project, okay, your application. So it's totally up to you to convince us, let's say, and present the way that you want to organize yourself and the way that you think is better for the development of your solution. Evie, can we add figures tables on the online proposal template sections? So, Evie, we try to have a very lean application form, very straightforward, but we also included an option if to add slides to the application. Okay, so if you want to add any images, any figures, okay, you can add them in the slides, and please make a reference in your text that you're adding those images in the PowerPoint application that can be included in the application form. Wilfred, how do you deal with cooperative projects of two partners? Do they need to submit two identical submissions? So Wilfred, that's very important. No, okay. If two SMEs are joining forces to advance one solution, each SME needs to describe what are their specific contribution to that solution development. Okay, of course, you can mention you're probably going to have similar or identical parts in your application form, but it's very important for each SME to describe their own activities, their own contribution to the solution development. Okay, so they can be similar but not the same. Okay, they're not identical. Fateme, are nonprofit organizations able to team up with SMEs? Yes, totally. Any kind of organization can team up with the SMEs. Okay, they will not require funding. They need to provide a letter of commitment, but any kind of organization can team up with the SMEs. Okay. How hard is the established deadline? So a question from Stefan. So the deadline is definitive, okay? There's no wiggle room of say a week. Okay, the deadline is strictly definitive, and so that's the end of the day of the 19th. Question from Laura. For trainings and services, which information do quotations need to include? Is it okay to submit only one quotation for the service proposed? Laura, ideally 2 quotations, okay? If you cannot provide 2 quotations, you need to justify why, okay? Now, of course, there are cases where you cannot have, there's a very specific service and you cannot have 2 quotations. So we are asking for 2, and I think that's defined in the guidelines as well, pretty much specified in the guidelines. You need to justify if you submit 1, why are you submitting just 1 and not 2? So, I mean, is it acceptable for the solution to reach TRL 4, or should it advance from 4 to 5? So, I mean, for this call specifically, we want the solution to be at TRL 4, okay? So you need the starting point should be TRL 4 or higher, okay? Stefan, if you reach the KPIs earlier than planned, can we accelerate the project and payments? If, for example, deliverables are faster than expected, yes, of course, this will need to be discussed with project partners. There is this possibility, but of course, we have a payment schedule, right? So from our coordinator, EODA, they have a scheduled payment timeline, okay? So this means that this can be discussed, but it's not guaranteed, okay? In any case, within the 6 months, you probably, if you reach the KPIs, I mean, it's not a very long period, right? So the payment's done upfront, or is it a reimbursement of the cost that we need to cover by ourselves before? So a question from Paprota. So for each one of the grants, the payments function in different manners, okay? And these are very much well described in the guidelines for applicants. For instance, for the missions grant, you're gonna join the mission, then of course you need to participate in the mission. Then we need a feedback form from you, and we're gonna pay you. So there's no need to justify your costs, okay? So no expenses or anything. So if you participate and provide us the feedback, you're gonna receive the payment afterwards, after the mission, okay? For the solutions, uh, for instance, there is a small payment on month 1, and then you need to reach the KPIs to receive the payments. For the solution, for the trainings and services as well, you need to acquire the services, and then we're gonna, after you provide us proof of the implementation of the services, the training and services, then we're gonna pay you afterwards. You're gonna receive the grant afterwards. So yeah, just please check the guidelines, because each one of the grants have a specific payments, yeah, criteria or ways of payment. Question from Paolo. What should we reuse from the PhotonQBoost project? So for the solution, what should we reuse from the PhotonQBoost project? What does the PhotonQBoost provide to the SME applicant, or what should we use from your project? Or is it expected that we just work on what we are doing internally without any integration reuse with the PhotonQBoost? So just to clarify, Paulo, for instance, let's say that you are submitting a proposal for a solution grant, okay? Actually, that's the case where you actually specified this. So you're gonna argument to us, you're gonna describe that you want to advance a solution from X to Y, right? And you're gonna describe the activities that you need to implement. How do you want to use the funds? Like, what do you need to advance the solutions, right? So that's totally up to you until this point. After your application is approved, you're going to become a beneficiary. So we're going to discuss with partners, how can we support your development? Okay, so in short, you don't need to reuse anything from PhotonQBoost, and we do not provide, so we do not necessarily provide you anything in the application stage. As Mafalda mentioned, you can require to be included in the service pipeline. You can start interacting with our services, with our advisor services. You can receive services from PhotonQBoost, but that's not associated with the application or the grant, or it's not associated with the call at the application stage. Okay. So yeah, there's not any mandatory integration or reuse with PhotonQBoost. Question from Stefan, will there be a second call later this year? So no, we're not planning to have another call this year, only next year. What is nominal time to reach KPI, and if they could be extended? So a quick question from Christoph. Christoph, as I mentioned, our solution grant, the indicated timeline is 6 months, okay? And of course, you're going to have a final KPI and an intermediary KPI defined, as well as milestones. So the timeline that we foresee is 6 months for the solutions grant. But if you need an extension, and that's totally acceptable, totally understand that you might need 9 months or 5 months, okay? And you just need to describe that in your proposal. So if you need an extension, please describe in your proposal, and that's totally fine. Another question from Laura. Are quotations needed for the training and services only, or also from equipment to be bought with the 40K budget? So The quotations are specific for the training and service, okay? And yeah, I suggest you to just describe also, I would need this grant, this resource to, like, my idea is to acquire this equipment, but right? So just describe what you're planning to do with the grant, or how do you plan to, like, what do you need to advance your solution, okay? So but you don't need to submit a quotation, okay, for the solutions or missions or anything, okay, just for the training service. Wilfred, you're planning to fund 15 SMEs. The call is EU-wide, so we may expect a few hundred applications. Is this a realistic expectation? Wilfred, we expect not many, not a few hundred. And we are planning to fund 15 SMEs. So each one of the grants had different numbers, okay, of SMEs. And of course, we're going to have other calls. So as I mentioned, next year, you're going to have another call. So we have, yeah, for this call, I think that we are planning to fund 40 missions. Then, if I'm not mistaken, 15 solutions and 10 trainings and services, right? So up to, say, 60, around 60, 65. Yeah, but in short, we're not expecting a few hundred applications. We are located in several EU countries with IQ headquarters in Italy. Are we eligible? So if your company is registered in Italy, and if you are an SME, Stefano, you are eligible. And of course, the criteria is that there's more description, is further described in the guidelines. Carolis, does the SME participate in the solution and, for example, missions cost separately? I mean, the SME can be granted in solutions, but not in missions. Catalyst, yes, you can apply for one. So whenever you're filling the application form, there's a question, which grant are you applying for, right? So if you want to apply just for solutions, or solutions, trainings and services, and missions, so you just select it, and you're going to have additional questions. Actually, you're going to have specific questions for each one of the grants, okay? So in the application form, you just need to select it and the grants that you're planning to apply. In any case, we expect people that are applying for solutions and trainings and services to join our missions as well, okay? That's something I think that has a lot of added value. So if you're available to join the missions, I think that's quite interesting. So we can, of course, meet each other. You can meet our team. You can meet other people that are participating. So I think that the missions are a very important part of what we're doing PhotonQBoost as well. For a true SME application, question from Mark Antony. How to make it appear that our project involves two companies? I have the same solution title, but plus writing it clearly into the application form is enough? Yes, that's enough. Okay. So yeah, just describing the solution, mentioning that is a joint application, that's enough. Whew, plenty of questions today. I think that's all. I think that we've addressed them quite well. Thank you very, very much for your questions. We're going to check the chat, add a few of those into the frequently asked questions as well. And yeah, that's pretty much from my side. Pretty much everything from my side. Mafalda, thank you very much for your interest, everyone. And Mafalda, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kijk, for your presentation and answering all these questions. Thank you all for attending. If anyone has any further questions, feel free to answer them through our help desk. We will happily answer them. So I think we can close this session. Thank you very much and wish you all a great day.